Hi guys, Mark here. Welcome. Today we're covering another variation of the triaxial weave. This one resembles a bunch of different colored cubes placed onto a project. In general, triaxial weaves are rather rare and usually found on high-end projects due to being work-intensive. So here is the weave in question. Notice this kind of patterns which resemble cubes in different colors. We're going to be working with gutted pieces of Paracord 550, so the inner strands were removed out of our pieces of Paracord. Line up 3 strands, place them under a rubber band on the left, then do a series of wrapping turns from left towards the right. Wrap rather loosely, since we have quite a bit of strands to work into our wrapping turns. Placing the ends under the rubber band on the right. If you have any extra cordage here, pull it into your wrapping turns. Use the excess to loosen up the wrapping turns a little bit. So this was our first pass of the triaxial weave. For the second dimension of the triaxial weave, I've cut a bunch of gutted pieces of paracord slightly longer than the weaving which I'm doing. I'm going to grab one of the pieces, attach a lacing needle onto one end, slide the other end under the rubber band on the left side. I'm going to start under a strand of the same color going under 2. So under a white strand, under 2, over 1. Then under 2 again, over 1. Under 2, over 1. Super simple all the way to the right side. I'm doing my weaving at a slight angle, running towards the right side. You can choose what angle to do. It does impact the look of your weaving a little bit. For now, we're just going to do a slight angle. Placing the other end under the rubber band on the right side. Grab your next cord, place it right next to the first strand, weave alongside your previous strand. I'm going to do my weaving same way as before. Under the same color of strand, under 2. So under the red strand, under 2, over 1. Again, under 2, under the red strand, over 1. Under 2, over 1. Super simple, just like before. Make sure that your strand is placed as close to the previous strand as possible. On the right, finish under the rubber band. Time for the third strand. Again starting under a cord of the same color, under 2. Over 1. Under 2. Over 1. As close to the previous strand as possible. Finishing on the right side under the rubber band. So we did one set of colors. Push them as close together as you can to make room for even more cords later on. You can probably guess that the next strand is going to be of the same color as our first one. The 3 colors rotate in a predictable pattern. Each strand travels above and parallel to the previous one. The white one starts under the same color cord, under 2, just like our first strand. Then over 1, under 2, over 1, under 2, and so on. Super simple, it is more work intensive than anything else. The next strand is of the same color as our second cord and follows the same sequence. So above and parallel to our previous cord, just like the second cord. So under a strand of the same color, under 2, over 1, under 2, over 1. The next cord, you can probably also guess, same as the third one in the previous set, goes parallel to our previous strand, doing the same sequence as the blue cord used before. So under the cord of the same color, so the blue one, then over 1, under 2, over 1, under 2, and so on. Super simple, just like what we did before. Just make sure to really bunch up these strands you're weaving in as close to one another as you can, creating space for new cords to be woven in. Continue the same way as we did here with your third set, fourth set, and so on. In general, for this diameter, which is an inch, you will want about 6, maybe 5 sets of strands woven through your wrapping turns. So 15 to 18 strands to really fill out all of this space here. Remember to push all of the strands together as much as you can and continue weaving your strands. For the last third dimension or pass, I've prepared a whole bunch of new cords, again gutted Paracord 550. I'm going to grab one, attach my lacing needle, place the other end under the rubber band on the left. Now, we're going to finish up these shapes here by adding another one, creating a triangular shape, the triaxial weave. So, to do this, we're going to pass over this section here, then under this lightning bolt section or a Z. So under this Z here. This finishes up a triangle here. Traveling diagonally up, we do the same thing. So over this section here, 2 horizontal strands and the vertical one, So over this, then under a lightning bolt or Z. Over these three, under the lightning bolt or Z. Traveling diagonally all the way to the other side, creating these triangular shapes like you can see here. Over 3 under Z. Finishing at the top under the rubber band. We're going to grab our next cord, in our case a blue one, place our cord alongside the first one, then we're going to move in order to finish up these shapes into a triangle. Alongside our first cord, we're going to pass over this section here. So 2 horizontal strands and a vertical one, over 3, then under this Z or lightning pattern here. Again, over these 3, under the Z or lightning pattern here. Alongside our first strand. Finishing up the blue triangular shapes. Over 3, under the Z. Over 3, under the Z shape here. Over 3, under the Z. Again finishing up on the other side under a rubber band. We now grab our third cord, in our case red, we're going to place our new cord alongside previous one, this time filling out the red triangles by traveling over these 2 horizontal strands and this vertical one, so over 3, then under a lightning bolt or Z pattern seen here. So this is the sequence alongside the previous strand, over 3, under the Z. Over 3 under the Z. This time, finishing up the red triangular shapes here. So we did the white ones, the blue ones, now the red. Over 3 under the Z or lightning bolt pattern. Finishing up under a rubber band on the right side. So the top. We now begin a new sequence, again using the first color, so the white one, again finishing up the white triangles alongside our previous strand. Our first triangle here, over 3 under the Z, over 3 under Z. So at this point, from our previous passes, you can recognize that after our white chord, we need to do another blue, then red, white, blue, red, and so on, until we have finished up all of our triangles in the weave. So the next one, as mentioned, is blue. Over 3 under the Z. Finally, let's do one more chord. After the blue one, we are doing the red. So, over 3 under the Z. Or lightning bolt pattern. So at this point, the pattern is already quite visible in our triaxial weave. We need to fill out quite a bit more. After filling out your entire weave, roll your weave between two planks to really even it out. Press firmly, roll. Remove the rubber bands and bind these ends further to really lock them into place. So to do this, I grab a long piece of thread, I place one end like this, so alongside the handle which I'm covering, and I start a series of hitches. So a loop, I place the loop over everything, including the other end here. So over, place the hitch where I want the start of my binding to be. So like this. Then simply repeat. A loop, place the loop over everything to really lock everything into place. Super simple. After the first two hitches, things begin to bind. Just repeat the same loop a number of times. Every hitch secures everything further. The same loop is always used. Loop, pass it over, tighten up firmly. After doing this a number of times, we're going to finish everything up. Grab the two ends, tie them together using a reef knot. After tying, trim off, melt. You may need to trim off these ends a bit further here to get them out of the way. Usually, the binding is finally covered with some sort of a Turk's head knot. Perhaps a gaucho fan knot, maybe a regular, wide Turk's head knot. You have a lot of options. This concludes our tutorial on yet another variation of the triaxial weave. I love the look, I hope you do as well. Thank you for joining me and see ya next time.